Hello, you Mayhem Makers. I'm Mindy with Quilting Mayhem, and welcome back to another Kona block of the month. We're up to month 7, which is this lovely block in greens. All these blocks are pretty simple. This will be a quick, easy one for you guys. So if you needed some time to catch up, this might be a great one because you can whip this out pretty quick and then go catch up on some of the others. But you're starting out a half square triangle. You know, the typical, we're going to draw that line down the diagonal, sew a 1/4 inch from either side, cut it apart, press them, trim them. Make sure they trim to the proper size that you need, all right? Easy peasy. Great start out the gate. Then flying geese, okay? So if you've been with me doing these, flying geese are not hard. We are doing them what I call kind of the traditional waist method, which is no problem. I have the most success with this method, so I like it. But you have your rectangle, and then you have your squares with that diagonal line. Place them right sides together, which with Kona it's nice. There is no real right side or wrong side. Line them up. You're going to sew on that line, all right? And so that'll get you potentially your first corner. And then you'll do the second corner. Obviously I have two opposite fabrics. You can see I went kind of backwards, but same thing. You're going to do that trimming and pressing of the back side, and then place your second square on. Make sure your diagonal is going from this outer corner to the center, and then you're going to sew on that line, and you're going to trim it, and you're going to press it so you have flying geese like this. So keep in mind there are 2 different colors of green on these geese, so it gives you a little more variety in the block, all right? So pay attention to how those are supposed to be laid out. So that you don't have like geese that are the same color, because that's not what you want this time around. So make sure you're getting those switching up colors. The next one we're doing is the unit that looks like this. All right, so we have triangle next to triangle and then a bigger triangle to make this unit. And I'm going to move you over here to my board and see. I'll lay it out. You can see what it looks like. All right, so here we go. So you have your 2 color triangles. You're going to sew them together on this long end here so that you're making one bigger triangle. Make sure you pay attention to how your greens are laid out, because you want them so that the darker is on this side. All right, otherwise they'll be going the wrong way. So then you're going to sew it together, press it, and have that unit. All right, and then you'll take this triangle, flip it over, match it up. Make sure your corners match. If you need to, if you're new, pin them so they don't shift, because you definitely want these corners matching so that when you get them together, everything's nice, even here. You want these nice pointy ends. All right, so you're gonna make those units. And then we'll lay it out and show you what it looks like. Keep in mind you do want to check measurements on these, so I highly recommend you have the Creative Grid 4.5 inch square, because a lot of these blocks are 4.5, and the best way to find out if you're all good, so lay this diagonal on the main diagonal seam of this unit, and then you want to try to shift so this point here matches this point down here. And then if there's any excess, which there might be a little, everybody's 1/4 inch seam is different, you can just trim it off. Ignore the terrible nails. Oh, I need to take care of that. All right, and then flip it around, same thing. We're now, because we have 2 clean sides here, we can just line it up. It should still match at this point and these points, and then just cut off those little dog ears, okay? So make sure you're doing that before you go and sew your block together, because even these little bits, this little difference, in the end, you got enough of those, all of a sudden you're 1/4 inch off as you keep going if you have all these little extra bits. So trimming is very important, as annoying as it can be, all right? Now we'll show you how it looks laid out. All right, so as usual, my space is not quite big enough for everything, but it's okay. It works for me. So make sure you're laying your pinwheel out correctly. And then you have your flying geese and you have your cornerstones. So I will make this unit in the middle first. So this is essentially a 4-patch. So I lay those on top of each other, sew my 1/4" seam, press them, and then I put this together, making sure you match those seams in the middle. And you put that together. And then you sew your corners to your geese on these bottom and top 2 rows, and then you're going to sew your geese to the middle of this. All right, and then everything goes together. We'll show you how that starts to look. All right, pinwheel put together now. And the importance of laying out is making sure everything looks correct, because it's really easy to get these flipped around when doing the block. And really that's the only problem you can run into with this one, which is nice. But I always recommend laying out just so that you make sure everything's facing the way you want. So I'm going to start putting these together so they make rows. All right, be right back. Oh, and make sure you're matching this. So I am going to take and pin my corners, and then I'm going to make sure that this triangle point lines up here. All right, so I can kind of peel it back, look at it, scooch it, and then make sure I drop a pin in it to get it as close to accurate as possible, and then pin my beginning and end, especially if you're new. If you're not new, you can cheat. I won't know, but definitely recommend pinning the center so that when you're done, it'll line up. So here we have it as 3 rows. What will then happen is you're going to do these right sides together and pin matching the seams. And then on the bottom side, you'll do the same thing. But you want to make sure you're matching these seams and trying to get this point to match that point. Pin that. Sew it. Repeat for the bottom side until you get it to look like this. All right, so hopefully you had fun making this block. I think it's super cute. And you could do a full quilt with this. I think this would be an adorable quilt, any color. You could have a lot of fun. But if you have any problems, reach out to me, info@Quilting Mayhem, or through Facebook, Instagram, call the shop, come see us at the shop, all those things. I will gladly help you if you're struggling. Otherwise, I hope you have a lovely day and keep on stitching.